Are you ready to start?
Yep.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Now that I'm wired? Okay. Not too loud for anybody. My name is Tom Skemp. I have a couple of roles around this. I'm the chaplain at the county jail, which gives me great access to the people that we're trying to serve. In that role, I've been at the jail for almost 9 years, and in that role, I realized early on that healthy relationships are about the only salvation for most of the men and women that we put through jail. And healthy relationships are the one big thing that they're lacking before they go into jail and after they come out of jail. So I knew that this was something we needed to work on. I was aware that Madison had a support program called Circles of Support that is a good program with a long track record. And I had talked to them several years ago, but I didn't have the energy to get it going here. And then Joe Urso came to town, and he took over from Gata Halnagel at the Tribune as the religion editor of Faith and Values, and it had been several years since jail ministry had a write-up, so I called him, trying to get some more publicity, because jail ministry is a nonprofit too. And he came over and we chatted for a while, and I ended up matching him up with a couple of guys that were getting out of jail a week or two later, just to have for him to develop relationships, to find out what their issues, what their problems are. And one of those relationships developed into a long-term friendship. This was at least 4 years ago, right after Joe came to town. And that relationship has carried on, and it opened Joe's eyes up to some of the issues that the guys getting out of jail are facing every day. It introduced him to a whole other strata of society, and he had the youth and the energy to kind of get things going. So it's about around the same time Amos was getting formed. Amos is an interfaith, congregation-based coalition working for justice in this part of the state, okay, this part of the tri-state area. Curtis, who is on staff for Amos, should be here later on, and he can address any of the particular questions you have about the organization of Amos. But Amos has four task groups, okay? The hunger, food insecurity they call it, but it's a hunger task force. The Hmong task force, restorative justice, but what's the other one? I lost it. I woke up with the worst cold of the year this morning, so my brain is a little bit foggy. We're talking about stuff that's coming out of health concerns. Thank you very much. Okay, and so we've been working out of the Restorative Justice Task Force of Amos. That has been the home for the Circles of Support program. Okay. Restorative Justice has done some other things, but we're not going to go into that tonight because we're concentrating on Circles of Support. And Barb will cover the mechanics of the program and how it works. I'm going to kind of talk about why we need it in the first place. Okay. Sometimes it's a hard sell, sometimes it's an easy one, but we'll see. The first couple of questions I need to ask is, why do we lock people up? And there's really only two reasons. We lock them up because we're scared of them, and there have been some that I have been scared of. Not many, okay, not many at all. And that there is a need to keep society protected for them, and they need to be locked up away from the rest of us for our protection, okay? And the other reason that we lock people up is to punish them, okay? So we're either mad at them or we're scared of them, Scared of them, if it's reasonable, I don't mind. But locking them up because we're mad at them just doesn't make sense to me. And that's why most of the people that we lock up get locked up. That's part of the punishment in the hope that they will change their ways. How many people in here got kids? Okay. I got a couple of adult kids, and when they were little, if they did something they weren't supposed to do, they'd get a toy taken away or sent to the corner, or no TV that night, or as they got older, no car that weekend, those kind of things. Always, as a loving parent, with the idea that the punishment was to get them to change their behavior. Okay? Not just because I'm mad at them, which I often was, but the idea is to get them to change their behavior. With the real little ones, it's like they can't just run out in the street, that there are horrible consequences. You know, if that happens when a car's going by. We need to get their attention. That's part of the training that we all went through, and it worked for most of us. It worked for most of us. You know, my kids have not been in jail that I know of, you know, so at least for that part of it goes, you know, I guess I did okay. You know, but there's a huge number of people that we lock up, and we can prove, and let me go through the rest of this here first. Asking, does it work? Okay. Recidivism is 80 days. I've seen statistics recently as high as 95%. That might be a little bit high even for me, but, you know, recidivism is really, really high. If it worked, if what we're doing worked, okay, recidivism wouldn't work. If punishing people to change their behavior worked, they would change their behavior, they wouldn't commit new crimes, and then I'd never see them again. And yet in the jail I see the same people coming back time after time after time. So, okay, who do we lock up? There we go. In La Crosse, and this is just La Crosse County, you know, roughly 3/4 men, 1/4 women, 81% white, 14 black, 3% Asian, 2% American Indian. Now draw your attention particularly to the black statistic up there, okay, which is the most out of whack one up there. Other than the men and women is even more out of whack, but the county of La Crosse, the percentage of black people in the county of La Crosse is just under 1%. In the city of La Crosse, it's just over 1%, and yet 14% of the people we lock up are black. Okay. I can't explain it, I don't try to. It's just statistical data. The Asian and the American Indian are a little bit more representative of at least closer to what they are. Virtually all the women that we lock up have been physically and or sexually abused. Right before I started at the jail, one of the social workers went through, there were 20 women in jail, and just went through and did a spot survey of history of abuse. Okay, and 19 of the 20 admitted to physical abuse sometime in their life, and she was pretty sure the 20th was lying. Okay, so we're virtually at 100% with that. Some national statistics. 30% of the men that we lock up suffer from a serious mental illness, and 40% of the women that we lock up suffer from a serious mental illness. And that's defined, serious mental illness is defined as a mental illness for which a medication needs to be taken to stabilize things. Okay, whatever the mental illness is. Nationwide, by the way, 10% of the population suffer from a mental illness that falls into that category. So we're locking up a whole lot more mentally ill people than otherwise. The problem is exacerbated in La Crosse because our Justice Sanction program has taken a lot of the people, the good criminals, if you will, and taken them out of jail, okay, and put them on electronic monitoring and OWI court and drug court, the treatment courts, the day reporting, all the other programs they do to get people out of jail because it's cheaper to have them out of jail. So, you know, if you take all the easy criminals out of jail, and they got to be reasonably stable to even qualify for these programs, you're left with a lot more hardcore in jail. Okay, so for those of us that are going in, and I don't know if you've noticed it over your time going in as a volunteer, Joe, there's more hardcore in there now than there were 4 years ago.
You've done a fine job of sending us the good. All justice actions we can do.
Yeah, they all are. Again, a spot check. Steve Josephson, who's responsible for the mental health piece at the La Crosse County Jail, did a spot check when he noticed that the numbers were way up. And the day that he checked, 82% of the people we had locked up had a serious mental illness. 82%. It's been running that high for a long time. Of the people with mental illnesses that we lock up, they are all less likely to be properly diagnosed. Okay, and if they are diagnosed, they are less likely to be able to obtain their medications because they don't have insurance, they don't have the wherewithal or even the smarts to get to the right places for the program, and even if they're able to get their meds, they are less able to keep to the proper regimen in order to take their meds. Okay? The dual addiction piece is huge. Mental health and alcoholism, mental health and drug addiction swapping pills, trading pills for this, that, and the next thing. They're all huge problems for the population that we're talking about. Okay. Most of the people we're locking up are alcoholics and or addicts or both. Most were raised in a home where either dad was in and out of jail frequently, one or both parents were addicts and or alcoholics, and physical and emotional abuse were the norm. Okay? If your dad was in and out of jail as you were growing up, when you get to that point in life where you start going to jail, it may not be a pleasant experience, but it's what you knew growing up. So it's just what happens to you next. Okay? Now I got all sorts of statistics here, and some of them are kind of impressive. Okay, but around the world, there's 9 million people locked up around the world. 9 million. Okay, that's a lot. 2.3 million are locked up in the United States. Okay, 756 out of 100,000 in the United States. We have the highest incarceration rate in the world. There is no other country in the world that locks up people at the rate we do. None.
Is that an old statistic?
Last year. Last year, yeah.
I thought we hit the 1,000 out of every 100,000.
That would have been 10%, wouldn't it?
1%.
1%.
I thought we were at the 1% mark.
Could be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. But however, even the most oppressive dictatorships in the world don't lock people up at the rate that we lock them up. And it's not because they're killing them. I have checked into that. And this is a breakdown in the United States. 1.3 million in state prisons, 780,000 in jails, 200,000 in federal prisons, 23,000 privately owned facilities. Private prisons and jails are a big business. 93,000 in juvenile facilities, 2,100 jails in Indian country, 700 in immigration facilities, and 1,800 in military facilities. So that's the breakdown. Okay. Getting more local now, because that was the national picture. Here's the local picture. 22,000 adults, and this data is a little over a year old, but it hasn't changed significantly. 35 state prison facilities in Wisconsin in March of 2009. Okay. 540 juveniles, 5 state juvenile facilities, 16,000 in 70 county jails. There's 72 counties in Wisconsin. A couple of counties, I think there's 2 instances where 2 counties have gone together and have a common jail, up in the north where the population is not very dense. 1,200 in the one federal facility that we have in Wisconsin, for a total of 40,000 people, locked up on any one day in the state of Wisconsin. Okay, that's a lot of people. Okay. Now, I originally did this presentation for the Catholic Diocese of La Crosse, so this map is a map of the Catholic Diocese. But I continue to use it because, La Crosse is right there in the middle, and it's kind of all the surrounding counties. And it's still a good representation of western Wisconsin. As you can, the red dots are jails, and the blue dots are prisons, and the green dot way over here. Use my magic pointer. The green dot way over there is a federal institution. Okay. So, in these counties, 19 counties, 19 jails, 1,900 inmates, 6 state prisons, 4,600 inmates. The federal prison has 1,200 inmates. So 7,685 men, women, and children are locked up in that county area on an average on any given day. Okay, that's a lot. I'm never sure what I'm going to do with this particular piece of statistics, but I think it's worth knowing that there is a huge difference between the same populations between Wisconsin and Minnesota. Despite that Packer-Viking thing, the 2 states are amazingly similar in demographics. Their biggest metropolitan areas really, by world standards, aren't that big. Minneapolis and Milwaukee. Mostly rural. Okay? Even mostly